We are back. Yes, finally, all three of us. You guys are not relegated to listening about that treacherous, horrid format known as redraft any longer, because I know Dan hijacked the show and he's over there reading his magazine that he's included in, I'm sure. What's up, Dan?
Oh man, I'm just checking out these awesome sleepers, this article I wrote here in the Pro Fat Focus magazine, so I'd recommend anyone picking that baby up, a little humble brag. But no, I want to start with a story tonight, guys. It was pretty cool. I had a good friend of mine, a quarterback I used to coach. We may remember an old Dynasty Theory episode way back where he spoke with Russ Wilson's agent, and I thought Antonio Brown was going to Seattle, and it was close. They were in the hunt. They went to Tampa Bay. He's at a local like a minor league baseball game or something in Florida there. And this executive walks up to him and he's like, who is this guy? All dressed up in a suit. And he's talking business with this guy sitting next to him. And he ends up giving him an ink pen, this real fancy ink pen. And he gave it to his son. He had his little son there with him. And he ended up asking, he go, who is that? And it was an executive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not going to go into the name. Everyone will be emailing him or something. So he ends up writing him and says, thank you very much for, giving this ink pen to my son. You made his day. Really cool. And
wait, are you saying ink pen?
Ink pen, like a writing utensil. And it was an ink pen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
But why? What else would be in the pen that you have to specify it's ink?
Why you got to be like that?
We were so close to being done with the story.
I'm just asking the question.
So he gives the kid an ink pen, John, with the Buccaneers logo on it. And my buddy's son's a huge Tom Brady fan, okay? So this event happens, and then shortly after that, Tom Brady announces his retirement. So there's a little bit of an older story that I just got now, okay? He told his son that Tom Brady retired. His son's bawling his eyes out, devastated Tom Brady, retired. So my buddy records his son, who's 4, crying, and ends up sending this video to his executive about Brady retiring. The executive writes him back. He shows me this email and says, not quite yet. Don't count that story yet. It was a little bit premature. So that was pretty cool. Now, I yelled at my friend because I says, we could have used that scoop on Dynasty Theory way back when to know it was premature before, we eventually figured out it was premature. But just saying, I thought it was a cool story. One of my sources had another story, but he held this one. I could have told you Brady was going to come back to Tampa Bay before we even knew he was going back.
That would have been a good one. Now, I want to go get myself a nice ink pen. I need a nice ink pen. Mitch, do you have any ink pens out there in
I have one.
Utah?
An
there you go.
I love the Energel ink pens. They're some of the best, but
wait, is that a sponsorship? Should we get on board?
We should, because I'm left-handed and only select ink pens work. So this is the one ink pen that actually works when you're left-handed. Otherwise, you smear. Just so everyone knows.
Okay, well, that
riveting
is
stuff. I know.
Talk about pens. Like I said, I'm back. Let's go. Finally, a couple weeks off. I know the crowd has been growing restless. Mitch, you're finally back. I forgot about that. But we're going to get into some training camp battles, training camp conversations. Looking at the schedule here, it is July 19th. Rookies for Buffalo and Las Vegas reported yesterday. Today, Atlanta, Baltimore, Chargers, Miami, New England, New Orleans, Giants, Jets. Tomorrow we have rookies from Arizona, and then Thursday we have Cleveland, Green Bay, and Kansas City. I'm sure everybody's going to remember every single one of those that I just rattled off. And then next week, for the most part, it's the veterans. But tomorrow we get the veterans for the Raiders. So that will be intriguing, seeing how Devontae Adams kind of mixes in there. I'm sure he'll be involved a little bit this season, just a little bit. But putting the notes together here tonight, you could tell I've been off for a few weeks.
Yeah.
My section, I could do a 10-hour show here, but I'm not going to. But I tasked both of you guys with some of the more interesting camp battles for you. And maybe it's for selfish reasons for your dynasty rosters. Maybe it is strictly for opportunities that could arise for these guys as the season progresses. But Dan, give me one of your scenarios here.
Training camp battles. So, man, I guess I'll start. I put some battles by position in our show notes tonight, but I'll start with the running back one here. All right. Every year, the 49ers running back situations, kind of something happens. Now, I do believe Elijah Mitchell's the guy based on everything we know, everything we've read, what we saw last year. So I'm not doubting that. I'm not a Elijah Mitchell guy. If he gets an injury, I wouldn't be surprised. If something happens over the course of the season, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm really intrigued by the RB2 in San Francisco. Between TD Price over there and Trey Sermon, I'm not giving up on Sermon. I think a year more mature, knowing how to adjust to the NFL. TD Price was drafted a little bit later. I think they're going to compete. And I think there's going to be an opportunity to have a shot at that number 2 and carve out a potential role. And they're just going Sermon's going so late in draft, like startup drafts. You could get them easy. I have my shares from last year, a few still left. So I really want to see who wins that backup job there and maybe even gets in the rotation and gets some touches and becomes a relevant fantasy player on our rosters.
Now, going off of that, it was perfect timing because it was discussed in the Discord today. I keep saying, join the Discord. The link, it's included in the show description, whether you're on YouTube or you are listening on the podcast feed. DM me on Twitter. I'll send you the link, completely free. Just fantastic conversations 24/7. There's some football talk in there, and then just some, I don't know. There's some dumb conversations in there too, I'll be honest. Some of those are led by me, but one good conversation that stemmed from the Discord today was the news blurb that Jeff Wilson could very well be that running back 2 in this offense and solidify himself as the backup there to Elijah Mitchell. And one thing that we really talked about, and it was because of a debate, some might say an argument between me and one of the Discord members, Jewy. Love you, Jewy. But talking about Elijah Mitchell and his workload and getting, I think it was over 17 carries per game on 80% of his games in 2021. But overall, we see that type of workload for whoever starts for them, right? So let's say Elijah Mitchell, he can't handle that workload once again, and he misses some games. It could be a great late round dart in Jeff Wilson that at this point in time, you could go out and get him added into a larger deal, right? And if the guy is Sermon for you, great. I'm not advocating for going out and getting these guys on a one-off basis. Like, I wouldn't even move a third for Trey Sermon. And I think people are going to want more than that just because they want to see what they got in them, right? But overall, this is one of the 58 scenarios I have written down that intrigue me. And it's that San Francisco running back after Elijah Mitchell, because I do think there's an opportunity. And whether it's Sermon, Wilson, TDP, I think there is going to be that opportunity to step into a really solid workload, maybe not necessarily in the passing game, but at least in the running game, if Elijah Mitchell were to go down.
I completely agree. Their value is so low right now that they're so easy to trade for, like you guys brought up, that we know that if Elijah Mitchell goes down, all of a sudden those guys are huge buys in Dynasty. I mean, look at what everyone was doing for the Ravens backs after Gus Edwards went down last year and J.K. Dobbins went down last year. Everyone was blowing all their fab on. I don't even remember his name.
Tyson Williams.
Yeah, that's him.
I'm going to have a makeshift Tyson Williams jersey here. But no joke, I saw Devontae Freeman get moved for future seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I saw that happen. Devontae Freeman. So that's a good point. But I think now is the time to go out and get them added into deals.
Yep.
Because you can get them thrown in for virtually nothing. And Dan, I think this is a great one to lead off the show with. Something's not right. Maybe I'm just in that good of a mood to talk to you two tonight that I'm agreeing with Dan and Mitch right off the bat. But
I haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, Mitch, you'll talk later. You're here to look pretty. All right.
You agreed there, though, Mitch. We got to roll with this momentum we have. JB was on board with us early here in the show, so I think that's an excellent start tonight. And guys, we've done enough drafts this offseason where we're seeing the running back position thins out pretty quick. And if anyone hasn't done a draft, be careful, because if you fade them a little bit, you're going to be needing someone to hit later on. And I just saw Trey Sermon, or to your point, JB, I'm just as easy good of Jeff Wilson if you're a believer in what he could do. You're going to need a guy like this at the bottom of your roster. You need some running back dart throws that are going to pan out, and that's what I want to see in camp coming up. How are these guys looking? Where are they getting the reps in the depth chart? And how do I solidify the bottom of my roster?
And those are the types of guys. Sorry to interrupt you, Mitch. I know
You're
you were
good.
going to jump in there
You're
for
good.
your first comment 10 minutes in. I'm just trying to come up for air here. But those are the exact types of guys I want on the back of my roster. We're taking part, Mitch, Dan. I don't think you're in the 14-team startup. I can't even keep track. I don't
Not
even know
recent.
if I'm in it anymore. But the guys that I'm pulling the trigger on at this point, they're all running backs. And we're in the 18th, 19th, 20th round of a 14-team league. And there's 36 rounds, I think. That needs to be corrected. There's going to be nobody left. I'll be drafting Mitch Sorensen. But those are the exact types of guys that could help you as the season progresses, or you can dump and move for future draft capital. All right, Mitch, take it away, buddy.
All right. So speaking of the exact same type of backfields we're going to attack in Tampa Bay, we have Rachaad White. Dynasty Theory's own Rachaad White with Giovanni Bernard. Giovanni Bernard can easily be cut at some point throughout training camp because he might want to go to another team to where he's getting more work. But at the same time, we can never count on a rookie coming in being the third down back for Tom Brady. So it's just one that if you get that one right, we know that more than likely Leonard Fournette isn't going to get 80% of the touches like he was, at the end of last year. They're going to start mixing in a third down back some more, or someone just to give him a breather. Ronald Jones is gone. And whenever one of these two backs actually does something, more than likely they're going to start a game. At some point in the season, Fournette's going to miss a game for whatever reason. These guys are going to play. These guys will instantly give you get a round 2 pick instantly for them. And they're probably thirds now. I mean, Giovanni Bernard is absolutely free. He's probably up on a lot of your free agency, waivers.
Go ahead, Dan.
Just to add to that, what I would want to see, Mitch, is what Rachaad White looks like in camp. Even
I
if
thought you were going to say in pass protection, right?
Well, yeah, I'm going there. I'm going there because we know Lenny's overweight. We know Lenny just got a 3-year guaranteed contract. I'm still a Lenny believer. I'm not letting it necessarily scare me away, but he's not getting any younger. So I want to get a little bit of glimpse of, hey, even if Tampa Bay is going to be patient and run with Gio Bernard early in the year, could this kid play when the opportunity comes? And, hey, but they may not cut Bernard, Mitch. That they may need him very well for depth, but it could be White being the lead guy at some point with Bernard still having some kind of, scat back type role. So this could go a few different ways over the course of a long 17-game season.
I'm okay with the overall thought there of Gio Bernard. I just think, and just an interesting camp battle, certainly. I think whoever comes out of that, especially if it's Rachaad White, it's just going to propel his value up even higher. I think looking at it from an actionable standpoint, going out to acquire, it would be tough to acquire Rachaad White right now with the news that Leonard Fournette's topping the scales at 260 pounds. And can I say, I know everyone has fun knocking these guys. Let's not all act like we didn't plump up a little bit during COVID. Because I know I sure as hell did. So I reserve my jokes there. I'll make fun of him for other things, but come on.
Gio is free, though. That's the thing, is like you get Gio. I think I got him like the 19th round of that startup your top out, John. And there's no one to draft right now. That's the thing, is like you're scrolling, you're like, I'll go with that one, I guess. And it's, there's backs like this that I think can hit. Instead of having Tutu Atwell on your bench, you should have a running back like this instead.
Gio Bernard, you could get super late. You probably still pick him up maybe even in some leagues. And again, there could be a value there. Where I worry about a guy like Lenny is, I think he's going to get himself. I mean, he's busting his tail now, I'm sure, getting himself ready for camp. He'll shed a ton of pounds during camp. But do you start overcompensating because you didn't train properly? Okay. We can still perform on Dynasty Theory, JB, if we put on a few pounds during COVID. But Lenny's putting himself a little bit more at risk for a hamstring pull, for some kind of, lower body injury. If he pushes it too hard, kind of compensating for some lost time this offseason. So it is a concern.
Yeah, you look at his games last year, and Gio Bernard, he had the 110 target game. He didn't play to wrap up the season, but that backfield is a little bit different this year, and it is going to come down to, do they trust? I make fun of Dan a little bit here in terms of the pass protection, because ultimately between pass protection and fantasy results, there's little to no correlation. But I will say, if you have to go between Bernard and maybe a rookie that is struggling in pass protection, maybe we do see a little bit of less of Rashad White there. And Dan, you kind of perked up a little bit.
Yeah, but volume's the name of the game. That's why I worry about pass pro, because I don't want my guy on the bench because he can't pass protect. But the Buccaneers running back situation is like the Buffalo Bills passing game. You want Tampa Bay running backs. Tom's Mr. Checkdown. He will get those guys involved. And we know Bernard could catch. You know, White was brought in because they believe he could catch. We know Lenny could catch. You know, so they could do those things, but they do want to stay on the field, JB. Don't go shaking your head when I talk about pass pro.
Really quick, just high level looking at my
Mitch is
fantasy
chomping at the bit
leagues.
over there. He's got something. He's got something, JB.
No, I'm just, I know you wrote all these names down, and I'm eager to hear every single one of them, especially the last one, because I don't even know who that is. Like, I have no idea. None.
I want to say I wrote these down just so I
is.
could at least mention them, but I'm not going to go into a deep conversation. But anyway, like I was saying, you talk about Gio Bernard again. This is that, I'm not. Are you going out and offering a fourth for him? No, I wouldn't.
Not a chance. I'm
No,
just saying,
so
pick him up or draft him late.
He
That's a
is
fab.
he's
Throw in.
available. He's available in over 25% of my leagues on my fantasy league.
See?
There you go.
And we've cleared multiple rounds of waivers, so I don't even know if you have to put a buck on him.
And I will sometimes, like, say John Bauer has Gio for some reason, the bottom of his roster, and I'm looking to obtain a cheap back, and I'm really struggling to get a running back in the league. I'll find a different 1-for-1 that maybe John Bauer likes, and just ask you to throw in Gio Bernard because you don't care. So I think we spent enough time talking about Gio Bernard, but I think it's the Tampa Bay scenario and an opportunity. Well, you keep going on, JB. Give us someone new.
All right. Well, I'll give you somebody new. So the running back 2 scenario, and this is like the running back 2 show, right? But these are training camp battles that intrigue us. We're not necessarily going to go out and really focus on the highest end assets because they're pretty solidified. I see a comment. It's Vaughn time, baby. I can't even mention him with that backfield. Like,
Forgot about him.
I hope he does something. That would be fantastic. But I'm not holding my breath. So looking at the 2 that we mentioned from a passing game perspective might be the way to go. But the running back 2 theme is going to continue here. And I'm looking at the running back 2 in Arizona. Mm-hmm. James Conner, we always talk about his health. That's no surprise. And they have Darrell Williams. They have Keontae Ingram. Who else is there?
Benjamin.
Yep.
I've seen
slipping.
So many crazy reports on both of these guys. Oh, Benjamin's this and that. And Darrell Williams is terrible in one report and he's good in another. So, I mean, what do we believe?
Right. But even give me Darrell Williams from Kansas City that was essentially just a volume-based plotter. Mm-hmm. I'll take that for what he is. And in an offense that saw 17, 18 touchdowns from James Conner last year, just pulling this, a quick guess. But if you can give me some of that upside, if James Conner were to miss time, it's going to be very interesting to see how they deploy James Conner and if they utilize him as much in the passing game, which he's a very capable pass catching back, but also if he can stay healthy, it's going to be intriguing. So, Dan, let me ask you, if you had to put your money down right now, who lands that running back 2 role to start the season that very well could transition into that temporary running back 1 situation if James Conner missed time?
I'm a little bit, it's funny. I have these guys literally ranked 71st, 72nd, 73rd, and I'm going to watch see what makes some more stronger opinions in camp. But if I'm putting money down, I'm a little more bullish on Benjamin, just knowing the system, seeing some glances. Kansas City was willing to, let Williams go. They don't really have, the most deepest running back situation themselves. So I'm going to go with Eno, but I'm not going to argue too long on it if you like one of the other guys.
Mitch, if you're making a play and we have a larger trade at hand, and I have, let's say I just have all 3 of those guys, Ingram, Eno, and Darrell Williams, and you say, hey, I'm going to just include one of these guys to make the trade even number wise. I don't want to cut anybody, whatever the situation may be. Which one would you ask to get thrown in?
Probably Darrell Williams, just because even if he does get cut, I think another team's going to pick him up to where if we see someone like Eno cut, he might just be on a practice squad for another team for the rest of the year. So hopefully with Darrell, I can at least get a startable week this season out of him.
For the record, I would also go Darrell Williams. I think the fact that they brought him in, it shows their maybe lack of comfort there in Keontae as a depth piece and sliding Eno possibly down to that running back 3. But again, this is a lower depth piece that could very well have an impact as the season progresses. I'm not saying I feel warm and cozy running out as my starting running backs, Gio Bernard, Jeff Wilson, and Darrell Williams. But
and I think another point of comparison too, again, Tampa Bay, it's a running back friendly system with a very good offensive line. Arizona, you got Kyler running. They've got a very weak O-line. I'm more likely to say, hey, take him on my roster versus I probably would a Tampa Bay back.
All right, Dan, who else do you got? Another camp battle here.
So here's another just running back situation. Maybe a little less. I don't know if you want to call it a camp battle. I'm sure the team thinks they have got some good competition there in camp, but behind Josh Jacobs, because I want to know, is anyone going to kind of dip into Josh Jacobs' role? And if they are, in what capacity? And then, Jacobs gets dinged up. Who's going to step up and who do I want? You got our Georgia rookie, who's my dog, but Mitch's boy. I think he claimed him in our preseason
right.
Dynasty drafts there, and Zamir White. You got Kenyon Drake, who's the veteran, who's, flashed at times. And he kind of seems like the guy that could be next. And I heard he might even be recovering from some injury. And then you got Brandon Bolden, who's a McDaniels guy who we know could catch out of the backfield. He was definitely John Bauer's fab free agent special last year, but that's a lot of backs. So I want to see kind of how they're, using them. And I'm also a little curious of Josh McDaniels. Is this going to be like New England where you're guessing running backs all the time? Or, I like to think Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy. He's someone I've taken some flyers on when, that running back position thins out and you still want to get a name with potential on a very explosive offense, which I think could be really good.
Did I have this scenario? I actually didn't even have this scenario out of all of them, but I actually think, and let me know your thought here overall. I think the Vegas backfield situation, it kind of plays fairly similarly to Washington, where you have Gibson and Jacobs. You're not really sure of what that role is going to look like for either. You have Zamir White coming in, Brian Robinson coming in. How much are they going to eat into for Brian Robinson? I think it's more the goal line work and the short yardage work. But with Zamir White, just how are they going to incorporate him? And then you have the respective veterans in Kenyon Drake and J.D. McKissick. McKissick possibly capping Gibson's upside. And then Kenyon Drake, does he eat into that workload at all for Josh Jacobs? I think both those backfields are extremely interesting. And not only is the running back 2 scenario intriguing and how does it affect the starters, but with Vegas, you mentioned, Dan, if like the Josh Jacobs situation, because of the contract, I think it could go one of 2 ways. They and Mitch, we've talked about this in the Discord, but they did not exercise the 5th-year option because you have to do it so far ahead, whereas they could franchise him at a much lower cost or extend him next year if he's able to stay healthy. So maybe they're looking to run him into the ground if there are no intentions of extending him beyond 2022. So it's interesting how that's going to play out and unfold, because I think one way or another, it's going to be a very good value for Josh Jacobs, or people are going to be very upset with the stock that they put into him. Mitch, overall thoughts, does Zamir White do enough to take a sizable workload from Jacobs this year?
No, but I think the argument that we could have is who's going to be active on game days, Kenyon Drake or Zamir White, because Brandon Bolden is like a special teams ace. He is going to be on every single game day roster if he's healthy. So then it comes down to, are they keeping Zamir on the field? Are they going to keep Drake? More, in my view, as much as I love Zamir, I could just see them like giving him not the year off because there's going to be injuries, so he's going to get time to play. But let him sit, burn up Jacobs and Drake, and then if Zamir can show that he's healthy, maybe give him a bigger role next season, because I don't see there's any way that those 4 backs are going to be starting on game days for, on the game day roster for the Raiders.
That's a really good point for Bolden. Just looking at his game logs last year, 1, 2, and most of the games he was over 60% of the special team snaps, whether a kickoff return, punt return. So I think he is that guy that could provide that from a real life NFL perspective. I don't know. It's just, I think the big question here and the big potential spike in value is if you go out and get Zamir White today, or if you go out and get him early in the season when he's not getting much of a workload, and you have that conviction and belief that he is going to take over potentially in 2023, that's probably the time to go out and acquire him. It's just really tough for me to buy into him as a player because of what he's gone through. And I know that's not necessarily always going to translate, but I don't think I have very many shares of Zamir, maybe 1 or 2, honestly.
And I think that's really good coverage on the Raiders. I'll add one piece to Washington. I'll be interested to see, Antonio Gibson, and I've really avoided him. And he's a guy.
And I've been acquiring.
I used to like, and I think, hey, is he completely healthy this year where he could elevate his game a bit and really be just a really good running back for that team and keep Brian Robinson, do well enough to keep Brian Robinson, off the field enough to not really dip into his touches. But J.D. McKissic's a guy who we've liked in recent years is just a pass catching back. He's a real darn good football player. Mitch saw that when he was with his Detroit Lions. He was good again in Washington. But with Carson Wentz coming there and being like anti-check down quarterback, I'm wondering if McKissic really relegates to strictly a good football player who's going to get some catches because he's their best receiving guy. But I can see a big dip in targets. And then what do you do with McKissic on your roster if he has a dip in targets?
I mean, he's worthless.
Thank you. That's my point.
But I'm throwing the flag here. I'm throwing the flag, and I did this in the Discord too. And you magically vanished whenever I brought this comment up. But Carson Wentz, there was over a 20% running back target share last year in Indianapolis. Naheem Hines was heavily used in the passing game. Jonathan Taylor was used. I'm not saying.
That's Frank Reich and all those screens. That's not checkdowns. That's a lot of screen passes and design plays versus check down Charlie to McKissic. So I think that's a little bit of a skewed stat there that we're going to see work out a little bit differently in Washington.
And you don't think Taylor Heineke, who was looking to go down the field, he wasn't checking down? You're telling me those weren't designed as well? Watch the film.
I think Taylor Heineke might be almost as good as Carson Wentz. So I'd be a little concerned with anything going on in Washington now.
He is. He's better.
He may not have the God-given athletic ability, but man, just football IQ, and I don't know.
Come on.
People might actually like him. Probably matters a little bit, but
team will play for him. They'll run through a wall for the guy because he's got heart.
Mike in the chat says, did they bring back, I can't stand any of you. Did they bring back McKissic first or Carson Wentz?
Hey, I give him credit. They stole McKissic back. They didn't let him go when Buffalo.
Carson Wentz was traded on March 16th. No. Nope.
I'm impressed if you pulled dates this quick.
Did this dude write an article a week later about the trade? March 9th? Looks like March 9th was the Carson Wentz trade, and then free agency would have been after that.
So they brought Wentz first. And then retained McKissic.
Wait, so I really quick, I Googled JD McKissic signs, and the first thing that pops up is his zodiac sign. He's a Leo.
Oh, that's good to know. That's
so
good.
You guys know.
We delivered you deep here on Dynasty Theory.
And that was a week later. That was March 16th. The title of the article, not so fast. Washington signs JD McKissic after nearly blah, blah, blah.
All our Leo listeners just moved him up in their rankings.
I know. The Leo Lions,
right? Can I throw out another running back one to talk about?
Please.
Yeah, sure.
So here's one that I am greatly interested in because I think it's an opportunity that could really pay big dividends depending on which way it goes. And I know we've been down this road, and it kind of falls in the Jacobs class. But I know. But yeah, I think we might even like different guys, Mitch. I'm not sure. But the Kansas City Chiefs situation, their offensive line, I started diving into O-lines a little bit, and it's near elite, which I didn't realize how quickly that line's kind of bounced back. Because I know they went through, a little bit of a transition period where the line had some trouble and Mahomes was running around getting sloppy. But that O-line is really good. And you take Tyreek Hill out of that offense, if there's ever a year to lean more on that run game, and every year for CEH to seize the moment, because I really don't believe in Rojo. I know he can run hard and give him some burn there, but man, I want to watch camp, and I'm really hoping CEH is super healthy. I need him to be in one of my dynasty leagues and probably some best balls. But I hope he shines, and I will be watching to see how Rojo fits into that. Does he look good as well? Does Jerick McKinnon coming back a year? Last year was weird because I kind of liked McKinnon. And I waited all year, and I'm like, man, they're not even using this guy. And then all of a sudden, real late when it counted, like late season, postseason, McKinnon had such a role. So I'm very intrigued by the Kansas City backfield this year.
At cost, give me Ronald Jones over CEH.
At cost, giving McKinnon over both.
God, painful to hear.
At cost, I'll go back to Vegas and take Brandon Bolden. No.
See, there we go.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, and I've never been a CEH guy. Not until this year have I been a CEH guy. I just got this gut feeling. There's something in my veins, guys. I just think there's such an opportunity. If there was ever a time playing for money, playing for a future,
money burning from here.
It could happen, Mitch.
Burning
There's
it
gonna be
all.
some CEH week 1 lineups.
Mitch, before we get to your other scenario, can I just rattle through a few?
Oh, please go right on. You'll probably name mine halfway through. I didn't read them all, to be honest.
No, I left that out. But
okay.
The Atlanta running back situation,
I like that one.
It's interesting because like Damian Williams just kind of forgot about Tyler Algier. It seems like depending on the league mates, depending on the overall league dynamic, there's some leagues where I've still seen him go for a 23-second, but then some leagues he's more as that throw-in piece just to get a deal done. So I'm not necessarily calling for a breakout by any means, but I think one of those guys from a workload perspective, just in 2022, if I have Tyler Algier, if I haven't moved him yet, and he is the guy in 22, I'm looking to move off of him as soon as he has any type of workload. I want nothing to do with him beyond 2022. And if it's Damian Williams, if you get a third after he would do something, I'm not saying right now, but if he has a positive blurb, if he's, named their starting running back week 1, maybe anything opens up. Hell, give me a pair of fourths. I'll take that. But so the Atlanta running back situation, and I know Cordero Patterson, is he going to be as involved in the running game? At least the reports that I've seen, there are question marks surrounding that. Maybe he is used a little bit less as a hybrid, more as a receiver, but we'll see. Not necessarily a battle by any means, because I don't think either of them start week 1, and I'd be shocked. But the progression and the news that we get out of camp in Atlanta, so sticking in Atlanta, and Pittsburgh with Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett. Again, I don't think either of them start week 1, 2, 3, but I want to see strides, because especially Pickett, that value, it seems to be just dropping and dropping and dropping. And I think a lot of that is just impatience, because people wanted him to start week 1. And now it sounds certainly like Mitchell Trubisky is going to. Let me get through a few more scenarios real quick, Dan, then you can circle back here.
I want to talk about the ones you just talked about.
All right, fine, go.
Well, while it's fresh, I just want to add one thing to the Atlanta situation. I am really worried about their O-line and what they could do. But, maybe it was just, I think it was the Bears I was watching, trying to figure out their offense last year. That's where Damian Williams, they signed him for, the year before, he was with Kansas City, flashed. I remember he was an old Dynasty Theory boy there, your guy Damian Williams. But when I watched him
and
last
he went to
year,
Chicago, and he was just there.
Yeah, and he was just there. But I watched those Bears games, just trying to get a feel for the Bears offense fantasy. Why is Allen Robinson doing bad? What's up with Darnell Mooney and those kind of things? And Williams kind of looked good. And he's a big special teams guy. Mitch brought up the point about Bolden. He is going to be active because he's going to be a special teams guy. What if Aguilar, however you say his name, is a bust for some reason, and they use Patterson a little bit different? Like, I could see Williams having some kind of role, but at the same time, he's going to an O-line that's a little bit shaky, so I'm worried about that. And then I also put Trubisky Pickett on my list, JB. I saw him on yours, and I'm just really intrigued. I've got some rosters with Trubisky. I'm wondering. I think Trubisky starts no matter what week 1, unless the bottom fell off.
100%.
But what I want to know is, what does Pickett look like? How far away is he? So can I at least project, hey, Trubisky's safe for a year, and I feel good about that where I have him? Or, man, if Trubisky falters halfway through the season, is he going to lose that job? So I'm really curious to keep an eye on Trubisky and how he's developing.
Yeah, same thing as I mentioned earlier with one of the scenarios was Zamir White. It was, but with Kenny Pickett, if you believe in him, once week 1 rolls around, I'd be shocked if Mitchell Trubisky doesn't start the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's when you should pursue Kenny Pickett, especially if you see a team that might be looking to contend. He slipped in the rookie draft. Somebody took him 109, 110, 111. I would be looking to potentially get a deal done there. Mike says in the chat, and while it's true, Pickett is sitting 3rd string right now. He's behind Rudolph. Just be cautious with these early depth charts, okay? A.J. Brown was the wide receiver 3 throughout a good portion of the offseason as a rookie there in Tennessee. So that's just one scenario, but just be a little cautious.
To that point, JB, as I was breaking down O-lines before the show here, there are so many camp battles at O-line, and if you are looking heavily at depth charts, like you go to ESPN and you look at depth charts, it's just something on paper right now. It's like your best guess. So same thing like sometimes it's out of respect for a guy like Rudolph who's coming into camp. We're calling him the number 2, but Mason Rudolph knows the writings on the wall.
Jalen Tolbert, my man, he seems to be getting nothing but positive blurbs up to this point. James Washington, obviously being a little bit unhealthy, a little banged up here throughout the offseason. The early stages, at least, has not been good for his prospect here. But if Jalen Tolbert, if he can solidify himself in the high-powered offense, I just want to continue to hear positive things. I know a lot of it up to this point is just guessing, but I want to see what he does with this offense at camp. Dan, do you have an issue with Jalen Tolbert?
No, Mitch knows. I have an issue with every time John calls a Dallas Cowboy his guy and places so much emphasis on focus on my Cowboys. Like, it just I need a therapy session for that, Mitch. I need like a fantasy doctor or something, I don't know. Like, he's showing off Troy Aikman Funko. Like, that should really be behind John Bauer. That isn't my fan cave, but we call Tolbert your boy. And
well, I had to rearrange because I had these on the floor earlier yesterday, and my son decided to rip Josh.
Good for him.
I mean,
that went from a collector's item to a toy.
I would
tonight.
too.
But yeah, he knew Josh Allen was the one to pick, the one that he wanted, just like his dad.
Fair. The Cowboy beat writers, John, are saying everything we're hearing is the Cowboy coaches really like Tolbert right now. So if there's any smoke or fire where that smoke is, early signs are good.
Yeah, and if I weren't overly exposed to him right now, I would be looking to acquire more shares as a part of a larger deal. But even if you could do maybe a move a veteran to a team that might be looking to contend and bolster that starting lineup, to go through a few of these a little more quickly.
You got to do the last one. At least make sure you get to the last one. I want to do the 2 questions you actually have on the show notes.
All right. So
make sure you get to the last one.
We got time.
Cross positionally here, KJ Osborne, Irv Smith. I want to see Irv Smith coming back post injury. KJ Osborne had his moments last year. I don't know, even though the reports are saying that this offense is really going to pick it up from a passing perspective. I don't know if we're going to see 4 pass catchers plus Dalvin Cook be heavily utilized. So Green Bay wide receiver, that's a... Oh, come on, Dan.
Yeah, allow some time for commentary, JB. You put some good ones on there. I want to give you credit, all right? So, like, Osborne and Irv Smith's interesting. Like, I hope they don't, wash each other out in the fantasy world. What I'm hoping is Irv's the guy, especially in the red zone. We saw some flashes when he was healthy, and that's been rare. But when he was healthy, he could be the guy in the red zone. So I'm hoping there's a lot of production there, and he gets that tight end burn. And I'm hoping Osborne's just like a late good guy to take in case, God forbid, there's an injury, Thielen or JJ. then you got yourself a number 2 that could be productive. So I think they both have a role drafting. Irv would be my first choice, but I'm hoping they don't kind of strike each other out there like you putting them both on there, JB. You got me a little nervous.
Green Bay wide receiver, that's a given. Everybody wants to see how that's going to play out. Michael Thomas, sounds like there's some positive reports there. So I have Olave and Landry. I want to see how that plays out. A lot of tight end premium leagues. New York Giants, Washington, Denver. So not necessarily exciting and thrilling situations if you're not in tight end premium leagues, but a lot of the 2 PPR. Mitch, what are you laughing at?
I just know we're gonna make it through all of them, and I'm excited to hear all the names.
He wants he wants that last one and your
It's important.
Mad long list. He wants to hear you say that name.
I'm gonna skip to it. Another tight end situation, Austin Hooper, okay. And I put Chiggy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know who Chiggy is?
No idea.
Chigozia Okonkwo.
Oh,
the tight end they drafted. All right. I think they are 2 very different tight ends. Obviously, nobody's going to mistake Austin Hooper for an athletic freak, but maybe they could play off of each other. There were some positive reports with Okonkwo during the rookie mini camp. So we'll see how that plays out.
JB renamed him Chiggy, Mitch. So we're
going
to look for Chiggy this year.
And I actually just acquired him. I moved. Oh God, what did I move? Another end of bench player and $10 fab. And it wasn't with Dan. Somebody took a page out of Dan's book.
He was a hot fab guy when we saw the Twitter reports rolling from camp, and Tannehill gave him some good praise. So it is an interesting one to watch to see, hey, is there any merit to what we're hearing in those, early offseason Twitter posts from early camp? But I think Hooper, the veteran, could potentially have a nice role.
Otten and Brait, I need a positive blurb about Kate Otten so I can dump those shares.
Honestly,
I have a ton, and I took it. Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick. If you have Brait and you can move him for anything, move him for anything. Like, he isn't going to be good in fantasy this year. Like, if I only have one take this season, it's Cameron Brait should not be on your fantasy football teams.
I would love to do it, maybe, again, tight end premium, so asterisk, but if we could do Brait in a 4th for a 3rd. Like, that's the type of move right up my alley to get him off your team. And then same thing with Otten, based on his profile. I know we've seen, obviously, Rob Gronkowski flourish in that offense with Tom Brady, but I would be looking to move him a little higher up than the Brait move we just talked about. Man, I'm looking at a lot of low-end tight ends tonight. Low-end running backs, low-end tight ends. And Dan is salivating over there.
Yeah, I want to add to that Tennessee situation. I'm going to be watching Tennessee in general. We're all going to want to see, hopefully Burks bounces back, got his conditioning right, learned a few things from his first camp. I am not really high on the Robert Woods train. I thought he was a declining asset big time. Then he has a serious injury. He's a good blocker. We know we like that in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. And he's a tough dude, a tough football player. So if anyone could bounce back, maybe it's Robert Woods, but they need some pass catchers to step up. What if Burke still has some growing pains? What if Woods is on the decline? I really want to see Kyle Phillips rise. I'm hoping he's as good as what I thought his film was, and he could be a legitimate slot receiver and maybe a top target in Tennessee. I know they have Nick Westbrook-Ikhine there as like the 3rd guy. I'm not a believer there at all. So I'm really hoping Kyle gets in there. I'll be watching that closely. And then let me add the Ravens as a number 2 wide receiver situation. I've been big on Duvernay. I liked him
Duvernay
last year. I was hoping I was a year too early. I've heard some other people say Tylan Wallace. I don't know if his name's kind of rising from the ashes. And then, I think Prochet as a courtesy just gets put in the conversation. But I really want to see Duvernay step up. And I know, sometimes there's also that concern, hey, how much production is the number 2 receiver going to get in Baltimore after Andrews, Bateman, the running backs, they like multiple tight ends. So we'll see, but I think there could be some value there in Duvernay.
You know where the value is? And that segues perfectly. It's the tight end 2 here. Okay. And I'm still putting my chips on Charlie Kolar. I talked about him. I believe it was in February. I like the profile and
likely shined in camp.
I know, but he is so slow. He is so slow.
Some
I
of
would
those
be
tight ends just know how to get open, though, JB. They just know how to get open.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. And he did shine in the rookie mini camp. I know. So every blurb I saw, those are the ones where it's just rookie mini camp. It doesn't matter. But I want to see how that progresses, because I think one of those two could, again, 2 PPR, picking up some tight end 2 weeks as a flyer there, as a flex play in 2022. But that cooler profile, I'm telling you, it's one that really intrigues me. Mitch, give me someone here. I'm tired of talking for a minute.
All right. I'm going to hit someone real quick, but then we got to get on to the next questions.
We will.
That's good. Okay. I'm just going to go with really quick Josh Palmer and Jalen Guyton, only because the Chargers threw so much last year. They were top 5 in pass rate, in close games, to where looking at the offense as a whole, that ain't going to change. I mean, if anything, I think they're going to pass more. So while last year this was kind of, the talk, everyone liked Palmer or they like Guyton, I think this year it could actually manifest into some fantasy weeks that are playable. I don't know if it's going to be dynasty-wise you want them, but maybe it's more for bye-week fill-ins, DFS plays sort of thing with these other guys.
And if Mike Williams goes down, I think...
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I believe it was the end of last year. I think it was Mike Williams that might have missed a game, or maybe Keenan Allen as well. And I think Palmer popped in one, Guyton popped in the other.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
So maybe not knowing who it's going to be, it's tough to invest in those types of receivers. But if I have them on my roster, they're the exact types of guys I would be looking to move once that scenario plays out. Dan, do you think, I mean, they add Gerald Everett. You have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Do you think there is room for a fantasy viable third receiver there?
Throughout this offseason, I've shied away from it. So I'm glad Mitch has brought it up, because I think they bring in Isaiah Spiller. I think this is an offense a little bit more on efficiency. I think Gerald Everett's that extra weapon that they were hoping to get. And I don't think there's a lot much more, to go around. But Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they have had some, time being injured. And that is a great passing offense. We love Herbert. So I think what's good is, where most of this offseason I'm looking at, okay, who's going to win between Jamison Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie? And now I'm starting to lean Crowder, Jim Mitch's boy.
It better be.
But I'm so high on Buffalo's offense and all those weapons that I'm kind of maybe neglecting the Chargers. So I think as Mitch brings good attention to some receivers that are kind of flying under the radar, that, hey, Palmer still got some upside. He's a recent rookie pick. Hopefully he could take that next step. Or does Guyton continue to evolve? I think there were some good reports out of camp on him.
And like I said, to reiterate, I'll be shipping either off if anything positive comes out of them. Back to Minnesota really quick. Comment in the chat. What about Amir Smith-Marzette? I'd be shocked if there's any long-term value there. You got a 24 third for him? Yes, please. I'll take the third all day, every day. All right, rattling through. I want to see what happens in Buffalo's backfield. Cook and Singletary. The wide receiver 2 situation in Cleveland. Bell, DPJ, and Schwartz. Naheem Hines, not necessarily a battle, but I want to see how he's deployed and utilized in training camp. The wide receivers out in Kansas City. The running back 2 in Los Angeles. I think it's going to be Spiller, but Kelly's still lingering around. The Miami backfield. Man, I can't wait till
mystery.
I can jump up and down on the rooftops when Chase Edmonds cracks 10 PPR points and it's week 12, and I can finally say yes. But I'm Team Edmonds, and I've been vocal about that. And then I can't wait to see how things play out with Claypool and Pickens, but more so Claypool from a maturity standpoint. I'm looking at Mitch's face. I was waiting for him to jump in and say something.
No, I just like how I say Claypool.
Yeah, Claypool. We've been down this path before. Okay, so boom, that was quick there. There's going to be I can't. Football's almost here, guys.
It's so close.
It is almost here. All right, Mitch. This is it.
Okay.
Who is a player that will get a positive news blurb and rise in perceived value throughout training camp?
I'm glad you went with me, because Dan has a note saying that he has 4 of them. So, we'll
I
see if-
also have 4.
of course you two do. Of course. I mean, like, why wouldn't you? All right. Mine's going to be Daniel Jones because I think that's all that it takes for his value to go up. Right now, it's, people are ranking like quarterbacks like Tua as like a top 15 quarterback this year. And it's a little weird because I think Daniel Jones is in just as good of a position as Tua is.
Oh, what?
What?
I want to go that far.
It's a better team.
Yeah.
It's a better team.
Is it?
I think so.
No.
Yeah.
They don't have as much
Yeah.
talent on that roster, and they definitely don't have the elite receivers. They have one that we're hoping. Like, I hope you're right with Danny Jones, because that means my boy Kadarius Toney is hopefully also benefiting from there.
Yep.
I think Mitch saw that $50,000 rookie card go on Twitter in that auction about Danny Dimes. So
Apparently, Mitch bought it. Mitch is the one that bought it.
we
Daniel
have
Jones
official confirmation.
will be moved in the same tier as like, let's go Mac Jones is by the end of training camp. How's that?
I'm speechless.
That's good.
It's possible. That is possible. Mac Jones range.
From
Right
a
after
value
him.
perspective, I don't think it is possible.
But what is that? Top 25? I mean,
Mac Jones is going well within the top 25 quarterbacks.
yeah,
Mhm.
he gets bumped up more.
So we're looking at like quarterback 17, 18.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones
There's a path.
is
Daniel
ju-
Jones
I mean,
dropping dimes.
he's
You're lucky
He's
I didn't
down
say
there-
top 10.
he's down there with Malik Willis in ADP
not-
right now.
It's not my fault people don't believe in him.
But if we're talking, who is going to rise in perceived value? I'd be
Off of a
shocked.
blurb.
He did
It's
answer
gonna
your
be
question there. He
him.
could rise in perceived
I'm
value.
excited
That
for your
coaching
4
staff.
players here, John. And I swear they're going to be like, one's going to be Ryan Tannehill. And I don't even know the rest. Probably Chase Edmonds, I would guess. Just
Chase
going
Edmonds
off.
is number 1. Chase
Oh,
Edmonds
God, I
is
knew it.
number 1. All right, Dan, give me your 4 players there. Who's going to rise in perceived value? Because there's going to be some positive news blurb throughout training camp.
All right, I went with 3 scenarios. 2 players make up the running back scenario. Again, we're trying to find somebody that not everyone thinks is going to break out this year, or something could kind of align the right way, kind of like Danny Dimes. So Mitch answered the question well.
Okay.
At running back, I have Miles Sanders and CEH. I think both of their O-lines are elite offensive lines, and there's a chance for heavy volume and just 2 athletic dudes with pedigree. Like, it all makes sense that one of them, if not both, could break out. So I think there could be some good reports, and we hear some more buzz, and these offenses look great. And so I think they could elevate. Wide receiver, this one's not as trendy, but we're all talking about the Judys and the Devonta Smiths and all these other guys. And my boy Michael Pittman's always behind them. His stock has rose this offseason, but I think
He's going as a top 12 wide receiver.
but I think he could cement himself. Like, I think he could legitimately just get the respect he deserves on him.
He couldn't be
elite
more
one.
cemented if he were lying down in a construction zone where they're paving the streets here in Pittsburgh with all the potholes.
He still gets passed up for Judy and
No, he doesn't.
In some situations, you can't trade him for him sometimes. Like, you can't obtain him sometimes.
You can't obtain
or like
Pittman.
you can't, like you could get like I'm saying that the wrong way there. Like, people don't want to, I don't know. They don't want
Good effort on that one, I say.
Yeah, I just think Pittman could totally just escalate above so many guys. I know he's rose this offseason, but I think there's just another tier. I think you could really just more talk of him being the guy, number 1, inside the top 10, even potentially.
All right, if you want to say he could get inside the top 10,
I think he can creep. And then my other one, I just love. I'm going to rock the boat until anyone pays any respect. You're talking about all these tight end 2s tonight. And, we're hearing all these fade tight ends and all these tight end scenarios. And no one wants to even draft Tommy Tremble. Like, I am just so sick and tired of this guy he is a starting tight end in the National Football League who just upgraded his quarterback, where they don't have a ton of receiving options. I think Marshall's going to be better too. He is someone that they're going to keep talking about more. But Tommy Tremble should be talked about. He should be drafted. You should take a flyer on him. He's no respect whatsoever. I'm sick of it. I'm just sick and tired of Tommy Tremble getting no respect.
Well, listen here,
He's a
Ronnie
good
Dangerfield.
football player, and he's going to get targets.
Well, sometimes being a good football player doesn't get me fantasy points.
It's going to get fantasy
there are
points
going
this
to
year.
be 0 tremblings this year.
No, people still want to
0.
take Kylan Granson, and they want to talk about Jared Cook coming out of retirement, and Josiah DeGora for Green Bay with Tanya now. Like, we are talking about every tight end situation under the darn sun, and nobody is even. They're going deep. Every show I listen to, every article I read, no one's talking about Tommy Tremble. Enough of it already. Tommy Tremble, if you're listening, I am your number one fan out there, all right? And I've got Dynasty shares, Best Ball shares. I'm going to have DFS shares. I got rookie cards. I'm all in on Tommy Tremble.
Can you tell we haven't
ownership.
all been together in like
I know,
the last 6 weeks
know.
or something like that?
Dan, you know what? I got to see if Tommy Tremble's DMs are open because I got to get him on the show, a one-on-one interview with you and Tommy Tremble.
We need to. We got to give him some respect because he's not getting any, and I'm tired of it.
No respect. All right, well, let's talk about some tight ends that might actually be worth a damn here. Greg Dulcich already got 1 positive blurb, so that one's kind of cheating. That's cheating a little bit. But Cole Turner, I'm telling you, he is one of my most rostered players. There is an opportunity. There is a chance that who's he competing with? John Bates. I know Logan Thomas is there. Dan's walking away. I like Logan Thomas, but the dude's 30 years old, coming off of a serious injury. Very little chance he's going to be ready for week 1. So Cole Turner, Greg Dulcich. Dulcich was cheating. Chase Edmonds, baby. We're going to get that blurb, okay? And he's going right now. Chase Edmonds, a starting running back in the NFL for now until he's in the XFL. He's going running back 37 in startups, okay? He's going behind Damian Pierce. Come on. He's going behind Isaiah Spiller. What are we doing? There's going to be a blurb that Chase Edmonds, oh my God, he looks great. He's involved in the passing game. He's looking great between the tackles. He's getting some work. The dude hasn't had a carry inside the 5 in 10 years, though, so I don't even know if I can say that. But Chase Edmonds, he is going to rise maybe all the way up to running back 30.
Oh, wow. That'd be impressive.
And then another one, there's going to be some positive blurbs about Rondale Moore.
I think
that there are going to be.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch.
Okay.
On the flip side, there's going to be a negative blurb. There's going to be Traylon Burks had to use his inhaler again.
You
Boom,
said it. That's who I'm picking.
Oh, is that?
I'm picking Burks because it's already out there. It's in everybody's mind. All that has to happen now is for it to be Burks had a whole bunch of drops today. Burks was on the sideline while the first team was going.
Yep.
Anything like that, his value is already on that edge, and it's just going to drop. And so the only people that are going to have him on their team are the ones that drafted him because they can't get any value out of him anymore. And so I do think Burks is that guy to where any little negative blurb comes out and his value is going to drop a ton. I mean, we're talking a ton because he was at one point the 105, 106 in rookie drafts. Now he's probably closer to the 108, 109. If you had one today, I wouldn't doubt he'd be at the very end of the first with one more news blurb.
Yeah, I mean, some people, and now it's Drake London, but some people had Trey Burks right around that wide receiver 12, 13, 14 value for across the entire wide receiver landscape. So yeah, that's an easier it's like me saying Greg Dulcich for the positive blurb.
I know.
It's out there. So yeah, I'll give it to you, though. I'll give it to you. I like that one a heck of a lot more than Daniel Jones. All right, Dan.
I'm going to stay in Tennessee, but I think they tore Burks down. I think he's going to start showing some flashes, and they're going to build that rookie up. I think you're going to hear the negative reports about Robert Woods. I think, maybe he lost a step, not recovering from injury. Who else is going to get the ball in Tennessee? I still see people drafting and Woods high and talking well about him with some high expectations in Tennessee. He's going to be my old wide receiver that I'm going to say might be on the decline. We're going to hear some negative reports.
I got lazy at the tail end here, and I didn't choose to answer this question.
Final thoughts.
Dan, 165th episode. So we have training camp discussions that we just had. Next week, more training camp. And then the following week, I think more training camp. Lots of training camp. Then we start to get into the preseason. And then the Dynasty Theory teams be headed to Canton, Ohio for the Fantasy Football Expo. Our budget, it's all going to alcohol and steak. That's it.
I like it.
All right, Dan, what do you got? Final thoughts here.
Great times, man. We're definitely going to be all over the Camp News, so definitely keep tuning into Dynasty Theory there. Stop, going after John O. Smith and all the tight ends that JB mentioned or didn't mention tonight, and take Tommy Tremble, okay? Get yourself your Pro Forecast Football magazine, all right? My already outdated rankings in here because they were like from months ago, but I'm also working on O-line tiers and rankings right now, and be getting to defense. And this is the best time of the year because, we've spent a lot, we've analyzed a lot this offseason, but we're only going to dig deeper in the next few weeks, month leading up to the regular season.
And I'm very excited for it. To plug the Patreon, Mitch and I, we do the Pivot Point on a weekly basis, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. One of those days it changes, but that is where we're going to start to see wild shifts and quick shifts in value. So staying on top of that, we see somebody spike and they shouldn't. That's an opportunity. That's a pivot opportunity. So it happens both ways there. But as opposed to now where it's like, okay, we've been looking at the same values and startup rankings and tiers week after week after week. Now something is going to be changing. So I'm excited. Like Dan said, one of the best times of the year. Mitch, final thoughts. What do you got?
I'm just going to say while we're talking about these news blurbs is be careful of the ones we're getting in the first week of training camp, because a lot of them are going to be, someone's going to go up to the writer and be like, hey, what do you think of DeAndre Swift this year? He's going to go, oh yeah, they're going to give him the ball 30 times. I mean, why wouldn't they give him the ball 30 times? And then it gets repeated and it's all somehow DeAndre Swift's ADP goes up based off this. It's like, dude, it's just a reporter answering a quick hot take question. If you guys, I don't remember the player it was about, but last year there was like, this reporter says this is going to happen. And then someone posted on Twitter and the reporter comes out, was like, no, that I was asked for a hot take. And that was like what my hot take was. I wasn't actually reporting this. And so just be cognizant. I mean, we're going to have a lot more good blurbs that come out, but the first week is just rough with the rookies coming in.
All right. So this time last year, I wanted to pull a few articles.
Ooh, nice.
The biggest winners and losers from 2021 NFL training camp. This was August 24th last year. Loser, Cincinnati Bengals offense. We know how that played out. So there was one blurb. Another one. Dan, cover your ears. Bill Belichick reiterates Cam Newton is the Patriots starting quarterback. So just make sure you're paying attention. You're not going all in on a blurb. You're not fading a player, really investing in them strictly because of that. But, oftentimes when there's smoke, there is fire, but sometimes it's just maybe a misquote or something getting out there for clicks or, whatever the case may be. But this is a great time of year, but make sure you're paying attention. And there's no better place to pay attention than Dynasty Theory, especially through the Discord and the Patreon. For Mitch Sorensen, Dan Lamagna, I'm John Bauer. Have a great night. Buy Dan's magazine. We'll catch everybody next week.